Welcome, everybody. It is DAO Rush Week, and I'm super excited today. And right now, we're doing the Agave AMA. We have Sandpiper here, and there might be a couple other folks here that will be able to speak on Agave. But we're doing a bit of an AMA. I've got some questions personally that I think are going to be very common questions for folks, and then after we've gone through those, if there are other questions that we didn't cover, we're going to open it up to the audience for some Q&A. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Sandpiper, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you, Curly?
I'm doing fantastic. I love doing these things. I love learning more about blockchain, crypto, and the upcoming platforms that we are building in this DAO. So that's why we're here. We're here to learn a little bit more about what Agave is. So do you want to give us like a high level overview on what Agave is?
Yeah, so Agave is a collateralized lending platform built on xDai. We believe that xDai has a lot of potential to solve some of the scaling issues that Ethereum has these days. But there's not a lot of infrastructure here yet. And so we're trying to build out some new things. Here at Agave, we're building out this lending platform based on Aave. And we plan on launching something on Rinkeby in the coming weeks. The exact date of that isn't decided on yet, but it's coming along nicely. So yeah.
Cool. So the long and the short of it is we are a fork of Aave, but there are some differences that we've got planned, but we're going to be launching essentially as a pure fork of Aave. But we have a roadmap which we're going to talk about in a little bit of things that we would like to see kind of differentiate us from Aave proper. But we'll get to that in a bit. Before that, I want to talk about like where Agave came from. So some folks might know that we spun out of One Hive, which is the Grand Hive DAO, where many bees are busy working, and there's several other offshoots from the main One Hive DAO, and Agave is simply just one of those. So do you want to talk a little bit about the reason or how Agave kind of peeled out and the reason why, why we have a separate token for Agave?
Yeah, so there's lots of projects at One Hive. Not all of them are focused on DeFi. Agave was created as kind of because we felt that there were missing DeFi pieces here on xDai chain, and sorry, okay. What was the last question you said? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it was like how Agave kind of spun out of One Hive and what the decision was or why we made the decision to make our own token for Agave instead of just using Honey.
Right. Okay, yeah. So we're using a token model. The reasoning behind this is that Agave is used as a kind of insurance token for the platform. We also wanted to be able to do liquidity incentives, marketing incentives, things like this, which we didn't want to. It's not so easy to use Honey for these different things. We're kind of a very compared to other swarms at One Hive, we have a large scope. And as far as the insurance token aspect goes, people will be staking on the platform to earn rewards, and in exchange, in the case of a shortfall on Agave, there is those stakers will pay in the shortfall event. There hasn't really been any shortfall events on Aave, so we don't expect that will be a very common case, especially if we govern things properly, set risk parameters properly, and so on. But yeah, so it has unique risks and unique use cases associated with it that honey holders wouldn't necessarily want to. Sorry.
If you could please mute your microphones.
So that was kind of the reasoning behind the 2-token model. Helps us bootstrap things. We thought that the use cases were unique enough to be separate from honey.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think like we have this meme in One Hive, like honey is money, and you know it is much more than that, but like that is a core kind of principle that we have. And Agave is something different. You mentioned there being a security module that is definitely on the roadmap, on Ave's roadmap as well as ours, to protect against shortfall. So that is a key difference, I think, with the Agave protocol. And like it makes sense to have a separate token for that purposes alone, but for some other purposes as well. It is a fixed cap coin, isn't that correct, Sand?
That's correct. Yeah. So unlike the One Hive token or with the honey token, which has a dynamic supply and is sort of designed to be able to pay out people for doing things in the ecosystem continuously. Agave is a fixed supply token. It has so it will likely have a much more narrow scope as a token in the long term. Like I said initially, we will be using it for we'll likely be using it for liquidity incentives, marketing incentives, etc., to kind of bootstrap project. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how like Agave is a little bit different from Aave, at least from the initial standpoint.
Someone's mic is on right now.
Can we move to the Alvin Club just to avoid this sort of stuff?
Well, for any moderator, I think Luigi, maybe Monstro, if you're in here, can you just moderate for us and mute these folks?
I just muted the person.
Yeah, and if for all those that are just listening in, if you can go ahead and just mute your microphones and help us out, that'd be awesome. We don't have to migrate everybody to a new chat. Rohack. There we go.
It's quick. Just move everyone to Alvin Club. Everyone that is listening, just go there, and you make that move in 1 minute. Okay.
All right, we're moving to Alvin Club. Everybody move to Alvin Club.
Hello.
All right, that was a quick and painless move. I see. Wow, we have 43, 44, 45, 46. The number just keeps going up. There's so many people here. 50 people. We broke 50. That's insane. I don't know if we can handle much more than this for what I have planned for you guys, but this is the greatest problem to have, I think. Okay, so where were we just now? We were talking about, we're talking about how Aave might be a little bit different from Agave, or rather Agave might be a little bit different from Aave. And I think from initial standpoint, like the DAO structure is a little bit different. Do you want to speak on that?
Yeah, so we, I would say we did a pretty good job of maintaining a very flat distribution as far as things go. A lot of projects, I can't really speak for the distribution on Aave, but there's a lot of projects on mainnet that have some VCs behind them. You know, the founders of the projects take a large portion of the total supply. I think we did a good job here in that we only allocated about 5% or so of the total supply to founders, and which was less than we distributed to the liquidity pool and the community. There's still a large portion of tokens left in the treasury to distribute, and that gets to be decided by the current community and DAO members, token holders. So yeah, we really wanted this to be more of a community project and not give so much power to the founders. We thought it was important to have this kind of widespread control and and be like a real DAO and a real community.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the community aspect of OneHive in general. And we kind of spoke about earlier how there's many different projects in the OneHive ecosystem, the OneHive family, if you will. And I think that's a major part that we kind of focus on with Agave. And we want to bring value to all of these different projects that are in the same ecosystem. And Agave gives us that that platform to use as some, the liquidity incentives and staking incentives, lending and borrowing for the tokens that are existing in the ecosystem. So I think that's a strong piece that that will lend itself to the success of Agave right there. Another key piece that we have to leverage in being in OneHive is Celeste, and so we'll be one of the first kind of projects to leverage Celeste outside of OneHive proper or Honey proper. So do you want to talk about how that might play into the growth of Agave?
Yeah, so one idea we have of a way to use Celeste within the Agave DAO is as a way of whitelisting and blacklisting collateral types. So there's some shortcomings of ways that collateral types have been added or kind of curated by other DAOs. It ends up being a kind of large governance overhead to manage things so finely. So we kind of follow a similar philosophy to OneHive, and that we want to do governance minimization as much as possible. So we have some ideas on the roadmap of how to. It's a big undertaking, not gonna lie, but we would like to move more and more towards permissionlessly adding collateral types with some sort of like milestones that need to be reached in order to be added to the platform, and then we could use Celeste as a way of kind of curating that or disputing collateral types, so we can kind of add things optimistically. That's an idea we have down the line. That's not set up currently, and it's not going to be it's not going to be an easy thing to do, but that's kind of where we want to go in the long term.
Yeah, I think that's a super compelling narrative there, where I think in the near future, anybody will be able to propose that they add any kind of token to the platform as a collateral type. And if for whatever reason the community at large doesn't agree with this, they can use Celeste and kind of refute that and put up some stake, and it can go through the whole process where gradually more and more community members get involved if it gets continually gets escalated, and at the end we'll come to some sort of consensus amongst the community whether or not we want to support that. I think that's a really cool use case that Celeste provides for Agave right off the bat. Okay, so we talked a little bit about some of the specifics, but let's talk about some news. What are we excited about today? What's the latest and greatest that has come out of Agave so far?
We're getting close to doing a Rinkeby launch, I think. Our goal for that, I think that there's a few other seed members here, so maybe they can speak to that too. But I think our goal to do that is to do that within the first few weeks of May. And then after test, we want to make sure to launch on a test net, right? We don't want to be like testing in production or whatever. There's a lot of examples of bugs that have come up with DAOs because they've been a little bit too eager to launch things quickly instead of launching them right. So we want to do testing. And once we are on testnet and we're happy with how it is, we can then move towards a full launch. So I think that's coming along pretty well right now. Finishing up some aspects of the front end. The audit is coming in pretty soon here. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else wants to speak to that or not. But
yeah, I think I'm getting a message right now. This just in, the latest news. The audit just came back, everybody. We passed our audit. This is amazing news. This is happening live right now. Everybody, pour some champagne. Pop your party poppers. Get excited because our audit is passed. That means we're that much closer to coming to a full launch. But like San said, we're going to do a round of testing on Rinkeby first to make sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's. But that's super exciting. And with that, we're going to need your help. So this is where we ask for your help because we're going to need some testers to work on some beta testing while we're doing our Rinkeby stuff. And the idea, we haven't fully finalized it, but we're probably going to model it a little bit after the One Hive bug bounty program, where there's minimum minimum critical kind of bugs up to high critical type of bugs, and there'll be different rewards, so to speak, for those bugs. So definitely keep an ear to our Discord channel, our Twitter, our Medium, and all of that will come out in the next coming weeks, and we'd love for you all to participate in that. Yes, and the community likes to reward the community from the beginning, so keep that in mind when volunteering your time for us. Very, very cool. Okay, so I'm seeing that there are now 68 people in the room. So this is a great problem. I have been taking periodic screenshots here for a particular reason that I'm gonna have to figure out towards the end here, but I'm definitely going to reward the folks that have come out initially, but we're far surpassing the number that I expected folks to come out. So this is great. Big surprise, you guys are going to get a POAP. We're going to figure out how to distribute that. I think maybe some of the team members might need to forego this POAP, but we know who you are. But yeah, so for those that aren't familiar with what POAPs are, they are a proof of attendance badge that you can claim, and they are distributed on xDai network, so they're super cheap to claim, and then you can have those. If you want, you can bring them over to mainnet. It costs like, I don't know, with the dip in gas fees recently, it went as low as like $30, but that's still pretty expensive. But in any case, these are a way for us to identify the community members that have really come out and supported us through events like these. And we're planning on using these a lot more in the near future. So keep an eye out for events that we have, such as this. And they are a way for us to identify you when it comes time to, I don't know, do certain things. Who knows what we might do with it. But keep that in mind. And yeah, it's going to be a tricky way to distribute these at this point. But I think the best way is, because there's a unique code for each POAP, I'm just going to open myself up to be inundated right now with messages. But if you go ahead and give me a personal message, my DMs are open. I will cross-reference your name with the photos I've taken, and I will respond to you with your POAP code, and you can go ahead and claim that POAP. It is one per person, so I am definitely going to make sure that you are on the list. I have photos here, folks. Yes, they're rolling in. My inbox is blowing up. This is amazing. On on top of that, I would love to see that you're continually a member of our server after all, and it would also be a great sign to see that you're a part of One Hive server as well, because we're one big happy family here. So that is great. Okay. Let's talk about, so we talked about how we're going to be doing a testing round, and then we're going to be moving towards the big launch, which everybody is super excited about. I'm personally super excited about. And along with that, we want to, have some fun with it. We want to, gamify it a little bit. And so we've got, we're working on a great plan for you guys, involving some NFTs. So keep an eye out on that. I don't want to give away too many details, but if you're picking up what I'm putting down, I think you know that it's a good idea to be on our Discord, follow us on Twitter, check out our Medium, stick close to the community so you can be first to know when these opportunities open up, and you will potentially get something from it. No promises, but it might happen. Cool. Do you want to talk more about like what we see for the future, Sandpiper? Like, what are your big harebrained ideas? Like, we got a bit of a drawing board of things that we want to do, but like, what are you most excited about? What do you want to see for Agave?
Yeah. So I talked a little bit about the ideas around governance minimization and kind of permissionlessly adding collateral types. That's something we're interested in doing. It's going to probably not be till kind of more V2 style. So to give some context here, the initial launch will be, we call it MVP or beta. This is essentially a straight fork of Aave with some changes that were needed to get things working on xDai chain, right? We will probably have a few unique collateral types, right? I know we're interested in getting stake as collateral type. And so that's for the initial launch. We do have plans to add other collateral types as, especially as more liquidity comes onto xDai chain. We want to offer collaterals that you can't maybe borrow against in other places. We've talked a little bit about LP tokens down the line. I think this is a really cool opportunity. On mainnet, pretty much the only place that you can borrow against LPs is Maker, I believe. But me and I think the other seeds as well believe that this is a really cool opportunity because it increases the capital efficiency for liquidity providers. It allows people to borrow cheaply and then earn the LP rewards, which tend to have fairly high APYs. It also goes nicely with the new farms that HoneySwap is releasing, I believe. So that's a really cool opportunity that we're interested in looking at for the full V1 launch or possibly later, but it's definitely something that's a really high priority for us. Yeah, we've talked about Celeste integrations and dispute, like sort of curating our collateral list that way. We're interested in, as far as LPs go, we're also interested in maybe allowing LPs from other AMMs and being able to do, this will allow like liquidity rate arbitrage basically for people. And so that's a really interesting opportunity. Kind of down the line in the farther future, we have some cool ideas around NFTs with Bizu, around using source cred and being able to collateralize income. And so not just being able to collateralize, the assets you already have, but doing some kind of like payday lending sort of thing. Some of those, most of those ideas are still kind of in the incubation phase. We haven't really entirely figured out how that's going to look yet. But I have this post on the OneHive forum called the Potential Agave Roadmap. I'll post this in the meeting channel here. But yeah, there's a lot of cool ideas we have, and of course, we're up for hearing other people's ideas on ways that we can bring kind of novel value to the Agave platform.
Yeah, that's that's a core tenet of Agave being a DAO is like we're a grassroots community. We rely on community to bring their ideas, bring their energies, and be willing to offer ideas as well as work on those ideas. So this is a call out to all those that are listening to find us on the OneHive forum and put up your proposals there. You can check out the roadmap that we have listed there, all tentative ideas, and really it's up to anyone to kind of execute and join us in building this sort of thing. We also have one of the devs on the stage right now. I want to bring on Zed to talk a little bit about like what's been going on with development and like where we're at right now and what we could use help on to kind of get us over that hump. And maybe you could also touch on any ideas you have for the bug bounty that we have coming up.
Hi there. So currently our biggest priority is actually trying to get some traffic on our Rinkeby installation. We're trying to get the subgraph and the front end working, and the biggest issues we have right now are that without a significant amount of data, we can't be completely sure that we've covered every UI hang-up or whatever. So the more users we can actually get to actually hit the front end once it's on Rinkeby, the better we'll actually be whenever we deploy. So sometime in the next week or two, we're looking to actually have people hitting these APIs through the UX that we're still building some of, but I guess what I'm trying to say is we'd like people to actually try and use Agave a bit on Rinkeby for us.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, we want them to try and break it, like, inundate the front end with requests, borrow and lend and borrow and take it back and do it again and see if we can break it so we can, fail fast and fix it early.
See who can get into the most debt on a collateralized system.
Yes. Yeah. We were joking about giving out an award for the most indebted person, the most high quality degen. Very cool. Is there anything else you wanted to add there on is there any gaps in our team for like a call out to any devs out there?
So we are looking for people who are experienced with TypeScript. Let's see. Actually, if we have any people in the audience who are experienced building subgraphs, specifically assembly script, etc., we do have some room there for some extra developers.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you very much, Zed, for jumping on the mic. We also have a Monstrosity on the stage. I want to pull him in here and see what he is excited about. What's going on, Monstro?
Hey, Curly. Thanks for having me. You can hear me good?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, thanks. You're doing a great job, Zed. Thank you, Sand, and the community. You guys are thanked much for attending. What am I excited about? I'm pretty thrilled about the Rinkeby testing. I think we've got some big plans for trying to create some sort of bug bounty for Rinkeby testing. I don't know if any other communities have done that, so I think that'll be pretty cool. One thing that I don't know that was really mentioned, and I don't know that a lot of people talk about but going from a DAO to a product versus a product to a DAO. There's challenges, pros and cons for both of those. And I'm pretty excited to see essentially this one hive community roll into developing a new product. So that's pretty neat. NFTs are coming. Staking Monday, maybe. No, just joking. Yeah, staking Monday. I was trying to create a little bit of hype there, but I'm not very good at that. So we should have some staking on Monday. We did have a couple proposals pass, so glad to see that roll through. Partnerships. So we got some partnerships on the way. That's pretty exciting to see. Some other communities come together and rally behind Agave and want to kind of bootstrap Agave. So I'm excited to see the different communities come together. xDai is a unique community. It's very friendly, very open, very community oriented. It's definitely different than most other networks, and so you get to really see that when you see some of these things starting to come together. Some other things we do have the I did mention the kind of the DAO and everything, but with that, if I touch on that a little bit more, we've got Honeycomb coming soon, and so with Honeycomb from One Hive, there's going to be some, potentially some integrations between Agave and Honeycomb, and then also One Hive. We talked a little bit about SourceCred. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with SourceCred, but it's essentially no promises because we are a DAO, and so it's based on what the DAO decides to do. But I'm looking forward to potentially doing some sort of payday lending and it being completely decentralized versus your more historical sense of it, where you have a lot of predatory lending going on. And so there's so many opportunities when you get essentially a decentralized community together to just develop and build and do whatever the community wants to do, and versus a centralized project where only a select few get to decide which direction a project goes. So I think we're in a I think this project is really one of a kind, and so I'm really excited to see how this comes together.
Hey, can I add in on that actually?
Yeah, totally.
Sure.
So one of the things about the product direction from product to DAO and vice versa, something that differentiates Agave is that actually one of the things we want to prioritize is the ability to vote regardless of whether or not your Agave is vested in something. So we've seen several DAOs where whenever you're staking, you actually can't vote. So that's frustrating. So we'd like to make sure that we've covered that angle. Votes should count, and the community should be able to participate whether or not they're participating in other ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's super huge, and and one of the great benefits of us being on xDai is that we can actually vote, and it's like, it's not going to break the bank, so the average user can come on and participate in governance. So that's really cool. And having LPs be able to vote is another huge milestone. I think that I haven't seen in any other DAO, so that's really cool. I hope that comes really soon. So Monstro, you mentioned the pollen system, and so to just go a little bit more in depth on what pollen is, it's a way for us to incentivize community engagement when there's smaller tasks that are kind of harder to build a proposal around and get funding for. We want to engage. We want to encourage people to engage with us on our Discord through discourse. And of course, if you're a developer and you have some technical skills, participating in our GitHub and creating issues and pushing PRs and getting them merged will also mint you some pollen, some cred that then gets converted into some tokens. So keep that in mind, folks. This is an open door kind of thing. If you want to get involved, please reach out and just start contributing, start showing up to these kind of events and participating through all the different platforms that we have. And that tends to be the quickest way to get that cred flowing towards you and get you a little piece of the pie, so to speak. Okay, so I think we've covered like the base questions that I thought that most people would have without having to ask. So I now want to kind of open it up to the audience to see if there are any questions from you folks. I did see somebody's hand up a little bit earlier, but I wanted to get through the content that we had. Let me see. Okay, so yeah, the hand went down, but please go ahead and put up a hand if you have any questions, and then we'll bring you up on stage if you want to say it live. Or let me check the text chat. Oh, this text chat's been blowing up. I haven't been watching this. Let me see if there's any questions here. I see the meme machine is going. This is amazing. Little Alvin plushies going on. Yes, there's a link to Sand's potential agave roadmap in the chat there. So if you guys want to check that out, that'll link you into the discourse forum where you can continue the conversation, add your own ideas, say that you want to work on something if you've got those skills. But when marketing, I see Claude 999. This is it, man. We're marketing right now. This is a huge push. We got let me see how many people are in this room now. We got 77 people in this room. This is the most successful DAO Rush event I've seen this week. I've been to a bunch of them. I thank you guys all for being here. This is super exciting, super encouraging for me, and I'm sure the rest of the team as well. So yeah, marketing is happening. The engine is getting revved up, and we're gonna roll it out. We mentioned a couple things like the launch campaign, it's gonna involve some NFTs. Keep an eye out for that. It's gonna be super exciting. I'm getting excited just planning it. So yeah, keep an eye out for that.
Hey Curly, I can chime in on that one too with the when marketing. So we're just starting to ramp up our Twitter, so you should start seeing some more Twitter posts. We'll start ramping up some Reddit posts, where you've noticed we've been doing the weekly post on the Medium. So all those things are fairly new, and they're starting to kind of pick up some steam. And so if any of you out there are either technical writers, creative writers, spend a lot of time on Reddit or any of these forums, Twitter, feel free to jump on board and help out. And so we're starting to pick up steam on those things pretty much right now. In regards to kind of like a timed marketing, a little bit more a marketing approach where we're hitting everything in parallel. That'll happen as soon as we deploy. And so we do want some marketing now for the testnet, because we're excited to launch the testnet and to start testing that and hitting that up. And we'll be doing the bounties as we talked about with that. But like the big external push that will come after we get all the testing done and deploy the product.
Absolutely. We want to test before we launch. This is the proper way to go about things. Testing in production only ends in disaster. We have another question from the chat here. What do you think about competition between xDai and other layer 2s? Is there opportunity for coexistence, or is it a zero-sum game? Thank you very much, Dodds, for that question. I see Luigi answered right back saying definitely will coexist, but Luigi's also on the stage. So let's bring out Luigi to speak on that right now. Luigi, are you there?
Hello. So about the coexistence of xDai and Polygon and all these side chains and layer 2 chains, I think they will all coexist, because you can just wipe out all this community that has been created around the network. The network effect that doesn't just get deleted like from night to day. You see that even on all those tiny chains that no one really uses anymore, like I don't know, EOS, another chain. Help me out here.
Tron,
I don't want to talk crap about
Tron, Ada.
that.
These all have their own projects on them, and they have reasonably good communities, I think, or people who are really excited about them.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's nothing going to wipe the community that is being created around xDai, which is also a community that is very tight because it's mostly constituted of DAOs. So it's by design full of tiny communities that are super positive and work together for public goods. So yeah, I see no issue in terms of the coexistence of Polygon and xDai. I think both are doing great. Polygon right now definitely got a huge boost because of Aave being launched there. And I believe that xDai will also get a boost when Agave launches. Because that's why we started working on this. The whole idea of launching Agave was because xDai doesn't have a lending protocol, which limits a lot of stuff that can be done in a network in terms of trading, in terms of insurance, in terms of hedging your risks. So, and also limits like the amount of liquidity that you can gather in your network. So yeah, I believe that Agave is going to be a key project on xDai. Also because it has OneHive users and the OneHive community behind it, which means that we have all this support and all these prospects of tons of projects going to be built on top of it. In fact, we know that DAO House has intentions of deploying some of their projects that they have on top of Aave directly on top of Agave once it launches. I am aware that the xDAO also has some sort of project going on with Aave, and I believe that they will be interested in porting to xDai as well. So you don't have only the DAOs, the OneHive DAO trying to build on top of Agave. You have a ton of DAOs and communities working and needing these projects to go live to actually launch their stuff. So yeah, I don't see this issue in terms of coexistence. I think we'll just exist in parallel and build different stuff that will eventually get forked or launched in Polygon as well. I would actually say that would be the success of Agave, that we launch something that we can actually use on top of Aave on Polygon and mainnet, and or even they fork our stuff. Like that would just show that we are actually building something that is trying to improve, and it's not just. Okay, I think I blacked out.
Yeah,
Like,
you started you started to break
I
up.
I want to build something that like improves stuff. I'm not content with building something that is just a clone. Like there's no fun in that. We want to improve things. We want to make things better, and we want to also make the base protocol better. And hopefully, like Aave will also recognize what we do better and integrate it, or I don't know, we just collab with them and make things better. Like everyone wins, I believe.
Absolutely. I don't think it's a zero-sum game at all, especially at the stage that the entire crypto market is right now. It's still so small in comparison to traditional markets. And, when you use the analogy of like getting a piece of the pie, like, we're making new pies. There's still a lot of space to grow. And I think that, yeah, there's definitely potential to innovate and to satisfy different use cases and to have differentiating factors, like we kind of mentioned, the differences between the DAO structure, the ecosystem, the synergies between different projects in the ecosystem of One Hive, and being able to use Celeste on top of all these things. I think these are things that definitely set us apart and give us a different flavor, so to speak. So I think we can definitely coexist, even if Aave, one day does decide to come over to xDai. I think there's still room for us both to grow and thrive on this on xDai. Also on that note, I think like you said, Luigi, like other projects are hungry for lending and borrowing to happen, for this type of yield to be available on xDai. You mentioned a bunch already, but I also found out this week that Pool Together, who's had an instance on xDai for I think a couple of weeks, if not months already, and they also bridged out to Matic. They're eager. They have some pools open right now, but there's no way to gain yield to generate the winnings, the prize for the draws. So once Agave comes up, that gives them the ability to start generating yield, which will then allow people to use their platform. So I think that's a super powerful use case there that is just on the horizon. Once certain pieces fall into place, we'll have a Pool Together instance on xDai, which is super affordable, as I'm sure all of you guys know. Very cool. Let's see what other questions there are here. Oh yeah, let me check. Is there anyone with their hand up that wanted to come on? Feel free to throw up a hand if you wanted to come on and say your question out loud. Let me see.
Okay, I think it's working.
Agave.
So what I wanted to say is like, regarding what you just mentioned about Pull Together, that's exactly the type of business model that I really see lending protocols enabling through DeFi that didn't exist beforehand, and I really see being used like by a ton of stuff. You see that being used already on mainnet in some cases, like you stake in an NFT or those compounded tokens that just compound the yield. And that's something that we can do with Agave as well. And that sort of mechanic and business model for projects, I think it's completely insane. Like, that's the actual breakthrough that allows us to build a ton of products with One Hive and everyone on xDai. That was impossible until now. And so yeah, I'm excited about everything that is going to be built on xDai on top of it. And I truly believe that xDai, because of all the DAO ecosystem and communities, the innovation will be much higher than you will see on Polygon on top of Hive. I truly believe on that.
Very cool. So there's a question here from Musashi13. And they're talking about Agaveachis and collateralizing those, and they want to know if we're going to be allowing Agaveachis to vote with the DAO. And so that's actually an interesting idea. This is definitely not one of the near things in the near term, but we've been playing with the idea of Agaveachis, which would be a completely different project from Agaveachi. But it's, like I said, it's definitely not something in the near term. But maybe Zed wants to talk a little bit about our harebrained schemes, ideas about that coming up. What do you think, Zed? Oh, maybe Zed is not with us at the moment. But that's all right. Yeah, just know that we have tons of ideas and not enough manpower, not enough people power to implement them. So if you are a dev and you want to build out Agaveachi with us, then definitely come and help us do that. Okay, what do we have here? Project UWB says there was some talk about staking. Can we get some more information? Is there a plan to stake Agave and earn APY? Does anybody want to take that question?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty straightforward. Staking's been around for a little while in the DeFi, and so it's really no different than that. So you can use your Agave and stake it on the contract. We are developing LP staking. That won't be ready or live, the LP staking, but the Agave staking will. We already passed a vote for 500 Agave, so that's a 0.5% of the total supply. We are a fixed supply token, so we modeled that after Aave. Aave does a bootstrapping of 1% over 1 year. So because this is a little bit new and we don't want to commit, for a whole year, we decided let's commit for a half a year. We could increase it, if we need to. It's the DAO that decides ultimately. So that's what it is right now. And so depending on how many people stake will determine what that APY is, right? So it's based off of that number of people that are involved in staking.
Yes, very cool. Yeah, that's definitely one of the things that we want to provide early on in the app is staking and improving the Gini coefficient. Distributing the token is super important because it is a governance token, it's a community token, but then it also has certain implications and certain use cases within the lending and borrowing sphere. So that's definitely something that we want to work towards. Another question here from Project UWB is, I guess more of a comment, but a very good point about doing a job of educating new users for those that are new to the space and really wrapping their heads around this whole DeFi ecosystem and how to get involved. That's a super good point, and I think that's definitely, we want to definitely do that and be able to walk people through and feel comfortable and able to get involved in these protocols. And again, it comes down to xDai being a very low barrier entry place for people to get involved and not have to spend an arm and a leg in transaction fees. So that definitely helps. But in terms of like the education side of things, definitely keep an eye on, again, our Medium. That's where we'll be putting a lot of our articles out, and there will be tutorials on how to use the platform, FAQs, that sort of thing. So we definitely have that in mind to help out those folks. I see Luke jumped on the stage. Did you want to say something, Luke?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say a few words why I'm excited about Agave on xDai. I know that was a topic that just came up a few minutes ago, but my view is that we have these sidechain networks. I think that eventually they'll become rollups and true layer 2 solutions. So there's a working group for that I'm involved in. But I think within that network topology, you end up in a situation where these core basic primitives, whether it's lending or swaps, become necessary for building all of the other interesting applications on top. I think Luigi mentioned there's a bunch of applications that are sort of interested in deploying and then leveraging the yield aspects of a lending protocol as sort of a base primitive. So you can have your collateral actually earning money and being a little bit more collateral efficient if you have a lending protocol. And that's only possible if there's a lending protocol that's functional with some liquidity on that local chain. So as Ethereum scales, it's going to scale in a way where you have this sort of sharded environment of layer 2s and side chains and stuff like that. and each one of those is going to have these like base primitives. So what we're building now is that like base primitive layer, and I think like as soon as Agave launches on xDai, you'll start to see people being able to leverage it as this like base primitive. It's sort of like a missing component, in the same way that like when OneHive first came to xDai last year, there was no swapping primitive, so we deployed HoneySwap because we needed to use it as a base primitive to build other things. So yeah, this sooner the better, and I'm super pumped for the launch.
Awesome. Yeah, there's tons of questions, a lot of chatter going on over in the meeting room. Keep the questions going. I'm trying to read them as quickly as I can and get them out on the stream here. Again, if you want to jump on and ask your question live, you can go ahead and put your hand up. But let's see if I can pick out another question here. There was some talk about the 500 initial AGVE allocation for staking rewards. Yes, that number can be increased. It would depend on DAO votes, so community members getting involved. There will be an APY obviously associated with that for staking. I see some questions here about staking Agave LPs. I'm not 100% sure about that. I mean, LPs are you staking your tokens, but I think we do want to incentivize LP providers, so there will likely be some sort of incentives there. Nothing has fully been decided and announced yet, but definitely keep an ear out for the different opportunities that we're going to give.
Yeah, Curly, I can add to that as well. Another thing is, so when we're looking at staking, we also want to consider what else is in competition with the Agave token, right? So Agave has a unique token structure in the sense that it's designed for governance. It's also designed for protecting against shortfalls. And so you do need a deep liquidity pool. And so with that, we have Honeycomb. So there is an APY with depositing, a liquidity, a pair on a HoneySwap, and so we don't want to have such a high APY on the Agave token that we pull all our liquidity off a HoneySwap. So there's a little bit of a dance there that we want to make sure that the incentives are aligned and they make sense, so that there's enough liquidity, and we're also encouraging. We also have the staking as well. So I suspect we could increase it. I think it would make more sense to increase it once we actually open the door for an LP staking format. But if you're just staking the Agave token, then you're pulling essentially liquidity off of HoneySwap, and we don't want to do that too much.
Absolutely. There's a question here by Choo. What are the first collaterals in Agave and LTV? And I think that's a very good question. We have some ideas. And you know what? I'm not going to say it on the recording here, because anybody that listens to this afterwards, now you got to come to our Discord and find this message here. You can search what are the first collaterals in Agave and LTV, and you'll find the answer here. At least it's the tentative answer. So we do have some ideas, and those that are listening now, you can find that answer in the meeting room chat. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, so do you want to answer the question of why Agave isn't on that list? So I'll give that hint right now. It's not one of the initial collateral. I think kind of you touched on that a little bit already. Maybe Monstro, you have some more to say about it.
Yeah, the other reason why Agave is not on, so I think one of the first priorities is getting Honey on that list. So for those that are not familiar, Honey is the OneHive token, and that is kind of the Honey is money, the community token, the economy token, and so we definitely want to get Honey on there because it has a pretty deep liquidity pool on HoneySwap, and so it allows for swapping to be a little bit easier. And then if you start thinking about payday lending and how people are getting paid in Honey to contribute, it only makes sense to have Honey on Agave so that you can actually borrow and lend Honey. And so in order to do that for a Chainlink Oracle, they have some criteria, and one of those criteria is a certain number of exchanges. It has to be listed on a certain number of exchanges, certain amount of volume, liquidity, And so we're working towards that with honey, and that I think is a high priority. So agave is kind of the same boat, right? So I suspect we will get agave listed. But if you look at Aave, and not to compare ourselves, but if you look at Aave token doesn't tend to have a lot of borrowing and lending on their platform with that token. So I don't think it's critical. Also because of the use case of agave. Honey is, I think, a lot higher priority for agave, and so it's just about linking that, linking it so that we can list it.
Absolutely. So we are coming up to the end of our hour, and it still looks like there's tons of engagement. I'm super happy to see all you folks stuck with us for the entire hour. We're gonna start winding it down, but let me see if there's any couple last minute questions here. Will there be marketing related working group like on OneHive once the money of the first proposal has been used? Yes. So yes, Stonky, we're definitely, we got marketing in mind. We definitely need to build a product in order to market the product. So we're trying to do both at the same time. There is a definite marketing push, but yeah, stick around, throw your hand up in the chat, and if you want to help with that, then you can definitely get involved in that. Okay, yeah, the chat is still going. I think we can stick around and continue answering questions asynchronously through the chat. But again, I want to thank all of you beautiful folks for hanging out with us for this hour. This has been an amazing DAO Rush event. I've taken several screenshots throughout the chat of all the folks that stuck around from beginning to end. You will definitely get that thing that I'm going to drop to you. If you didn't catch earlier, feel free to jump in my DMs and send me a message, and I will send you the unique POAP code. You take that, once you click on the link, it'll take you to the site. You just put in whatever address, Ethereum address you want, and then you'll get that POAP to that address. Again, it is on the xDai network, so it's super cheap to claim that, and who knows what it'll be used for in the future. You guys far surpassed my expectations on how many people were going to come out, so I'm going to have to be clever with who gets these POAPs. But again, I'm definitely going to hit up the folks that stuck it from the beginning to the end first, and then we will see what are left over after that. Is there any parting words from our folks on the stage for the folks that are here?
I think I've got one more thing. So I'm wondering if we want to talk about how we might increase the token circulation and bootstrap liquidity. Is Luigi still on here? He's pretty passionate about this topic. Did he leave the chat?
I don't see him on this stage anymore. But yeah, I think we can definitely continue that conversation offline.
Alrighty. I didn't have anything else to add.
Okay, cool. Great. And on that note, then, I bid you all a lovely day, whatever time it is for you. Good evening, good morning, good night. And I hope to see you guys around in the Discord and on the discourse. And yeah, join the community, help us build this amazing vision that we've got already going. And thank you all for coming out again.